I believe I have 3 candidates which we can illustrate in this video, which will make you more effective in your first week in jiu-jitsu and on throughout your time in the sport, and which also illustrates some important lessons which have important carryovers into your further development as you go further down the line. So I'm going to start the ball rolling by saying the absolute most important move in all of jiu-jitsu, bar none, is the elbow escape. Okay, this move goes by several different names. Classically, it was always called the elbow escape. There's a sense in which that can be a slightly misleading name, but don't worry, we'll explain it now and it'll start to make sense to you. Okay, first let's understand what the hell is an elbow escape. An elbow escape is a situation where I start in a poor position, pinned by my opponent. We need to start off by defining a pin in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In the sport of wrestling, anytime my back and shoulders are on the mat, you're pinned. Okay, in jiu-jitsu you have to go further than that. It's only when my opponent locks one of my shoulders down to the mat and he's gotten past my legs and he has some kind of direct chest-to-chest contact, or in some cases knee to stomach contact, only then does it count as pinning me. Okay, so if I'm on my back and my opponent is in front of my legs, yes, I'm on my back, but it's not a pin because Bernardo is not past my legs. However, if Bernardo should control my legs and go past, and then from here start to come up and control my head and shoulders, etc. Okay, now he's pinning me. Understand also that there are different kinds of pin here. Right now, Bernardo is settling for one of the most popular all-round pins in the sport, the side pin. He could, for example, transition to a knee on belly pin, where it comes up, places a knee on my stomach, and from here, he gets additional points in a pin like this. He could also transition his hands to the mat, go forward into the mounted position. And from here, he's taken a different form of pin, okay, and this scores even more points for him in this situation. He's still pinning me, it's still in the category of pins, but it's a different kind of pin. If I make the mistake, for example, of turning my back, and Bernardo starts moving around and creating a situation where his 2 legs hook into my hips, now he has a different kind of pin. This is a very interesting one, because now he's no longer chest to chest, he's chest to back. Interestingly, in the sport of jiu-jitsu, even if Bernardo ended up in bottom position here, he would still count as pinning me in this situation. You can see that the notion of a pin is quite different in the sport of jiu-jitsu to most grappling arts. It's not necessarily top and bottom. It has more to do with your body position relative to the legs than it does to top or bottom. Most of the time, it's the top man is pinning, provided he's past the legs, but a situation like this, I'm technically on top of Bernardo. Even if we come all the way up here, now I'm definitely on top of him. But still, I'm in Bernardo's pin because he's past my legs and he's established this hooks in, upper body control, etc., etc. So you see that the notion of pinning is quite interesting in the sport of jiu-jitsu. It has to do with the idea of getting past your opponent's legs and fixing yourself to either chest to chest or chest to back position with certain kinds of constraints in mind as you control the position. Now, if there's one method that's going to get you out of these pins, which trumps all the others put together, it's the elbow escape. Okay, let's start off by looking at different variations of the elbow escape and showing how it creates a situation where your opponent has passed your legs. The act of elbow escaping is essentially the act of putting your opponent back inside your legs. Now, as a complete beginner in the sport, you might be asking, okay, what's so special about that? You're still on your back. I don't care if you put your legs in front of him or not, it means nothing to me. Well, we're going to go on to show other techniques after the elbow escape, which will show you the value of putting your opponent back inside your legs. You can go from a situation where you're completely losing a match to one where you can absolutely turn it around and win from underneath your opponent, provided your legs are involved in the movements. So putting your opponent back inside your legs after they've pinned you is a big, big deal in this sport. Basically, the entire bottom game of jiu-jitsu is almost all centered around the idea of keeping my legs between myself and my opponent. If he gets past my legs and gets into upper body pins, he's winning. If I can keep my legs between myself and my opponent, I have an excellent chance of winning, even from bottom position. So let's have a look at a situation where I got off to a dreadful start and my opponent got mounted on top of me. Okay, even a complete beginner can see that this is a bad situation for me and a very good one for Bernardo. Okay, in situations like this, we want to form a frame where one forearm goes across my training partner's hips, so that if Bernardo tries to walk forward with his knees and get into a higher and higher mount, it's quite difficult for him. I take my elbow and I put it inside my training partner's knee. I'm going to start actively looking to invert my knee so that my knee points down to the floor and my foot is higher than my knee. If my knee is higher than my foot and I try to perform an elbow escape, I'm just going to run helplessly into my opponent's hamstring, and I'm never going to get a hold of my opponent's leg. So I have to create a situation where I take my foot higher than my knee, and by doing this I can easily scoop my knee underneath Bernardo's ankle and capture it. The way we capture it is by going across with the second leg and locking, just like so. Now I've captured the ankle. I need to transfer now to the knee. So I started at the ankle. Now I just turn my hips, watch Bernardo's knee. It comes off the mat. And as a result, it's very easy for me to go around the corner and capture the whole knee. If we bring the camera around on this side now I'm going to repeat the process on the opposite side. I'm going to take my elbow and put it inside Bernardo's knee. And as a result, I can shift my hips and bring my foot higher than my knee, so that as a result, my knee comes through like so. Now, if we bring the camera further around, now there's a potential problem. When I try to take my foot out, it gets caught, and I feel it would take some kind of extraordinary flexibility on my part to get my legs around my opponent. But if I plant my foot and shift my hips, the angle changes between us. And as a result, it's very easy for me now to lock my ankles around my training partner's lower back. Okay? At this point, you are no longer pinned. Yes, you are still on your back, but you now have a situation where you're out of the immediate danger of the pin, and from here we'll soon be showing you can get on the offense. So once again, let's have a look at the situation. Bring the camera back around. Bernardo gets off to a strong start and goes into a mounted pin. We start things rolling by getting a hand across and locking a frame where one of my elbows goes inside his knee. I never want situations where my arms are around my opponent like so, where my opponent can easily get to a higher and higher position and threaten me with all kinds of nastiness from the situation. Okay, go back down, Bernardo. So we want to frame across the hip and inside the knee. Now I turn onto my side. There's a world of difference between being flat on my back, where I'm not particularly effective, and one where I turn onto my side, where I can be highly effective. Now from here, my foot goes higher than my knee, and as a result, we can easily bring our training partner's ankle into a position where we can lock the figure of four around that ankle, and then turn to get his knee off the mat, and as a result, make a good catch. Now, camera around on this side, I bring my elbow inside my training partner's knee on the opposite side. I shift my hips out. I bring my knee inside Bernardo's hip, and we shift a second time so that from here we can quickly lock up a closed guard on our training partner. Okay? So this will be a classic escape from the mounted position. Understand that the elbow escape is the most versatile of all the methods of escape in the sport of jiu-jitsu. It works on almost all of the major pins. So for example, Bernardo's across my side and is now pinning me in a classic side pin. From the situation, I bring my elbow inside my training partner's hip. I bring my knee to my training partner's hip here. I put my foot higher than my knee so that as I shift my hips out, I find the perfect angle to bring my elbow and knee together. And as a result, from here, we can start pushing on our training partner's hips and aligning our body with our training partner. If we bring the camera around in this direction here, now it's an easy thing for me to plant my foot on the floor. Once again, if Bernardo's knee comes towards me, you'll notice that my foot is stuck, and it's difficult for me to bring my legs around my opponent. No problem. We plant the foot, we shift our hips out, we form an angle where even an inflexible person like myself can easily lock up around, and we find ourselves once again in a closed guard situation. Again, we've recovered our legs. With our legs around our opponent, we're in a position where we can start to get on the attack. So once again, side pin situation. Bernardo's here in an excellent pinning position. We take our elbow, bring it inside the hip. We take our foot higher than our knee, and we start the action of scooting our hips out. As our hips go further and further away from our opponent, we get more and more space to bring our legs between ourselves and our opponent. As my knee goes to Bernardo's hips, we shift our body, we align with our training partner, and from here, we have more than enough space to bring our legs around and lock a so-called closed guard position on our training partner, and now we're ready to fight from bottom. Alternatively, from a situation where Bernardo is behind me and has two hooks in, The elbow escape will work just fine in this situation too. First things first, this is a potentially very dangerous situation where Bernardo got a hold of my lapels. He could start strangling me here. So this is a serious problem, okay? So what we want to do here is always to monitor our training partner's strangulation hand. That's the one that comes over my shoulder and could potentially strangle me in this position. So we want to make sure we monitor that hand and lock it in place defensively like so. Now, even as Bernardo holds the position, I'm going to use the fingers of my training partner's strangling hand to point the direction of my escape. The escape starts with the head. We're going to take our feet, we're going to plant a foot, and I'm going to turn my foot outwards. I want to fall in this direction, okay? As a general rule, Bernardo will be interested in me falling in this direction here, okay? There are some variations to that, but it's a good general rule. Now, I want to determine which way I fall. I don't want him determining which way we fall. How do I win this? I take one foot and plant it. Now, Bernardo is going to try and take me to the right side. I'm going to use my left foot to turn out. As Bernardo goes to my right, by straightening my leg, I force Bernardo in the opposite direction he wanted. Okay, once again, from a seated position, Bernardo wants to take me to the right, I don't care. I just put my foot planted, watch my left foot turns and my toes point the direction I force him to go. Okay, now as he hooks in tight with his legs, I want to beat this bottom hook. How are we going to do this? I'm going to swisher my legs through underneath and make a strong hook, Bernardo. I take my foot back inside his and I turn my knees to face the ceiling. Bernardo wants his head beneath mine. So I take my head forward and I put my head underneath his. As a result, we're able to push forward on our training partner and bring our knee over his foot. There's not much danger of a strangle now. So as I monitor his strangle hand, I don't let him go in and start grabbing my lapels. I pat over my training partner's ankle and I start moving out and away. There's a danger now that Bernardo will start getting up on top of me into the mounted position. So we perform an elbow escape. We go over the top as Bernardo gets up on top of me now. It's top position. Okay, we finish the elbow escape and capture our training partner's leg. Now from this position, we go through, elbow goes inside the knee, foot goes in, shrimping our body out, and once again, we perform the elbow escape to put our opponent back in guard. Okay?
Sumigeshi is among the most important positional moves in the sport of jiu-jitsu. It is a sweeping and throwing method that uses your legs to lift and turn an opponent onto his back so that you can get up on top of him. It works at all levels of the sport and in all weight categories. It is equally effective in both gi and no-gi jiu-jitsu. It has been used as the centerpiece of bottom guard attacks by many great athletes for generations. I believe that investing serious time in the study and practice of sumigeshi is one of the best things that you can do to improve your overall jiu-jitsu game. Sumigeshi is typically employed from seated guard, usually when an opponent is on one or two knees. But as we shall see in this video, it is also very effective even against standing opponents as well.